So this is the LG 27UK850-W. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about whether or not this is the best 4K monitor for the new Mac Mini M1, MacBook Pro, MacBook Air. So let's get into it. How's it going, y'all? It's Ben Aqua, and I have been really loving this monitor so far. It has worked really well with my Mac Mini M1. There's already plenty of videos talking about the specs and stuff of this particular monitor, so I'm not gonna go too deep into that, but I'm more gonna talk about what my experience has been like using the LG monitor with my Mac Mini M1 and also using it with my Nintendo Switch as a gaming monitor. So first of all, let's talk about the colors, because I think there's actually amazing color representation on this monitor, almost emulating what the iMac 5K screen looks like in terms of pixel density, in terms of color accuracy, and just the general kind of pleasantness of staring at this monitor when looking at stuff like text, which is really crispy, and also while editing photos and videos. I feel like this monitor gives a pretty accurate representation of colors. It's not on the ghost pepper spicy level that the iMac 5K monitor is, but it comes really close at a fraction of the price. And speaking of price, this LG comes in at about $450 on Amazon, and I will leave links to buy this in the description below. One of the reasons this monitor is $450 and it's a little more expensive than the kind of more entry-level monitors is this monitor has USB-C. So you can use the USB-C port to plug into your Mac Mini M1 or a MacBook Pro, MacBook Air. There's two extra USB ports on the back of the monitor that you can use to plug in external hard drives or USB microphones or something, but I plugged in an external SSD into one of those USB ports in the back of the monitor, and I got extremely slow read and write speeds, like much slower than you would get just plugging that same drive directly into the Mac. And another weird thing about the USB ports on this monitor is if you don't have a computer plugged into the USB-C port on this monitor, the extra two USB ports don't do anything. Like, you can't charge your phone on them, you can't plug in a USB light or something into them. They basically don't do anything. But overall, for $450, I think this monitor provides a lot of features. I barely had to do any calibration on this monitor at all. I didn't have to tweak many settings or anything. And the colors look nice and vivid. They look pretty natural. You can make them look even more supernatural by diving into the menus. The menus can be accessed by pressing this button that's underneath the logo. And the menu system is something I actually really enjoy on this monitor. I didn't think I would like this single button operation. It's kind of a little joystick underneath the LG logo, but I actually find it to be very efficient. It's really snappy. It just works really well. You can use this joystick to also change your input really quickly. You can change into game mode really quickly. And speaking of gaming, I have used this monitor a bunch with my Nintendo Switch, and this display just works awesome for Switch. This monitor only has a 60 Hz refresh rate, so if you're a hardcore gamer, I don't think this is the best monitor for you, especially if you're playing a lot of games that go beyond, 120 FPS. But for my purposes, just playing some Switch, Mario Kart, Tetris, that kind of thing, this monitor works really well. And built into the monitor are a few different gaming settings so that you can optimize the FPS. But while playing my Nintendo Switch on this monitor, I haven't noticed any dropouts or anything weird. It's just a really nice gaming and monitor experience. And I also appreciate the kind of minimal design in the front. There's no extra branding or HDMI this, 4K that. It's just the LG logo really tiny in the front and center. That's really all I need. The bezels aren't the thinnest bezels of all time on this monitor, and the monitor does feel kind of cheap while touching it, like it's not the highest grade plastic or something, but it feels about $450. It doesn't feel like a higher end $700,000, $1,000 monitor. It definitely feels about $500, $450. I wouldn't say this is a cheap monitor at $450, but it's more of the kind of mid-range budget monitors. And for that kind of mid-range, for the amount of money you're paying for it, I think it's actually a really amazing monitor. Also, this is an IPS display, which means viewing angles on it are really good. I tried out my Mac Mini M1 with a few other monitors, a couple of which were VA monitors, and the viewing angles were kind of trash on those. And I appreciate that, from different angles, you can see basically the same version of the screen in terms of colors, contrast, and that kind of thing. When you get to the sides, the blacks kind of turn into more grayish type things, but that's pretty typical for IPS displays, especially in this price range. There's a bit of light bleed I notice in the corners, especially in the lower left and lower right corners, and there's a little bit of kind of darker shadowy areas in the corners, especially this lower left corner. But most of the time, I don't really notice that at all. It's really just when there's like a purely black or dark screen that I started to notice notice the little bits of light leak coming in from the sides. But when I'm watching videos, playing games, I don't notice that stuff at all. And you won't really notice the shadowy left corner kind of vibe unless you're looking at a purely white screen, you know, you're on the New York Times or something. Then I definitely notice a shadow in the corner, but most of the time I don't notice it at all. So is the LG 27UK850-W, that name is so long. So is this monitor the best monitor for the Mac Mini M1, MacBook Pro, MacBook Air? I think it depends on your budget. For $450, you get a lot of features. You get awesome colors, awesome sharpness, USB-C connectivity, a couple extra USB ports to interface with your computer when it's plugged in. You also get a couple HDMI 2.0 ports, which is cool, as well as a display port. You get a headphone out. You get the IPS display, which has really good viewing angles. If you need a higher refresh rate than 60 Hertz and you're more into gaming, or maybe you need something a little bigger because this monitor is 27 inches, then you might want to go for something like the LG ultrafine 32 inch, which will take the price up to $700. But in the kind of budget slash mid-tier range of monitors, I think this LG is my favorite monitor for this price point. So those are some of my thoughts on this awesome LG monitor. Let me know what you think in the comments if you've used this monitor with your Mac Mini M1 or another device. Be sure to delicately caress the like button below this video if you found this video helpful or useful, and subscribe if you're not already. Have an awesome day, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.